do. RNG are your nightmare.
Set it off like this. Set it off like. Set it off like this. Burn it up, burn it up. Say no.
Welcome to beautiful Busan, South Korea, host of the 2022 Mid-Season Invitational. The fans have shown up in full force to support the home favorites, LCK champions T1, for the opening day of the group stage, and it's a historic day for many reasons. So in our first game, we will see a VCS team on the international stage for the first time in almost 3 years. This is the Saigon Buffalo squad arriving at the Busan Esports Arena. Of course, their opponents, T1 and FLICKR, will be playing at an international tournament in front of their home crowd for the first time. We'll see if they can continue their undefeated run. It's mind-boggling. I'm Quick Shot, that's Cool Bog. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, 2014 Worlds after FLICKR had won in 2013. He didn't even qualify.
Yep.
Crazy.
And now he gets to play in front of the home crowd. Opening game, and has the honor of playing the VCS's second seed.
I mean, VCS, nice to have them back in. I think you say that second seed. I actually genuinely feel like a lot of teams are underestimating what this team can do, but we'll dive deeper into that later.
We will. Before we do get to those
second seed ever beat MSI?
Well, we'll find out. Before we get to the teams, let's quickly remind everyone of the format here at MSI.
Get ready to take notes because the best teams in the world are about to show up and show out in Busan, South Korea for the 2022 Mid-Season Invitational. The top team from each region will compete in up to 3 stages of MSI: the group stage, the rumble stage, and the knockout stage. 11 teams will participate in MSI. They are the Split 1 winners from LPL, LEC, LCK, LCS, PCS, VCS, TCL, LLA, LJL, CBLOL, and LCO. All 11 teams will start their journey in the group stage. The teams have been drawn into 2 groups of 4 and 1 group of 3 to play a best-of-1 double round robin within their respective group. The top 2 teams from each group will move on to the rumble stage, where all 6 remaining teams will play a best-of-1 double round robin. Then, the top 4 teams will advance to the knockout stage, where they will compete in a best-of-5 single elimination round. When the dust settles, the 2 teams remaining will face off in the finals to determine the best League of Legends team in the world. The winner takes home the trophy and the MSI 2022 champion title. You can catch all the action May 10th to 29th on lolesports.com.
Well, it's May 10th already, and I do need to have a small correction in that video. The video was recorded prior to I did not lie. At the time of recording, it was true. So some quick updates. Due to the cancellation of the LCL spring season, the CIS will not be participating at MSI 2022. And as Jath so rightly pointed out, yes, I did lie. The VCS spring 2022 champions GAM will represent Vietnam in the Southeast Asia Games. So therefore, Saigon Buffalo will be the VCS team for MSI 2022. These are the groups. We've seen the format. I think quick takeaways from me right now, Jat, is that every single MSI champion except EDG is participating at the event.
Yeah, multi-time winner RNG, multi-time winner T1. It's actually amazing the historic nature of the teams that managed to qualify here in 2022. And also, with the format changes, if they go deep, we're going to get to see these teams play for 3 weeks.
Now, we'll have to find out who's going to stand out on top and whether or not T1 and RNG will be challenged by anybody else. Now, the patch that teams will be playing on is 12.8. We were joined by Matt, because I can't say his gamer name,
Froxen,
from the game development team on Diephoria to discuss the MSI patch. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I was also kind of curious how you have decisions around, like, say someone like Caitlyn, right, who's like super high priority over in the LCK, but we basically don't see her anywhere else. Like, do you look at that and go, we think she's in an all right spot, or kind of what's your thought process around someone that's crazy high priority in one region but just not seen in others?
Yeah, so it definitely presents us a pretty major challenge when we have to balance with a lot of regional meta variation. So like you said, Caitlyn and LCK, you know, they play a lot more Karma, Ezreal, for example, compared to other regions. LPL tends to have a lot of Galio. Don't really see it very much in other regions. They play Aphelios a lot more, that kind of stuff. And, you know, it is a challenge for us. A lot of the time we kind of have to just go with our gut in terms of like understanding which teams are the strongest and which ones we expect to be meta driving. Like if, for example, and this is no flame to NA because, you know, like I'm from NA region, but if NA is playing a lot of On and like no other region is playing On, it's like, are we going to nerf On because NA is 90% On presence, right? It's like, Probably not. No flame.
I wanted to thank the production team because the production team started the NA Flame without us. They did it themselves. Okay, make sure to check out the full podcast as well as the breakdown from Matt Froxton on Spotify. And since we last saw these teams play, it was patch 12.5 for most reason. There's been a lot of changes, like a lot. So I want to show you all of the changes. And Jat, maybe walk us through some of this and some expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, it was just NA who played on 12.6. Everyone else, this is what a combined look of all of the patch notes would be. That is a huge amount of buffs, a huge amount of nerfs, and even though these players do experience it in solo queue, not every team is going to have the same read with this long off of playing on a competitive patch. So I think we're going to see a lot of different types of meta reads, at least at first.
Especially when you take into the consideration of scrim bubbles as well, different teams developing their own metas. Every team who got here with the way they played to MSI is not the way they will be playing at MSI. It's a complete different style. It's going to be a complete different meta. So all of a sudden, how adaptable as you are as a team is going to matter as well at this tournament.
Yeah, and as much as people think that pro teams and pro players like read patch notes and then give you an analysis
They
of this
really
being strong, no, it's literally, oh, I gotta feel it first.
Yeah.
That's so many things to try.
That's a lot of feelings.
You're not gonna have a solid read
What
at
do
first.
you feel will be showing up in the first few days, Jack? That is a difficult question to ask.
I'm really curious to see what happens to the AD carry meta because we had basically a whole split of Zeri or Caitlyn are kind of like these pick ban things, but the things we saw on the Rift were Jinx and Aphelios, which are hyper carries, low mobility. That has a lot of knock-on effects of the rest of the meta if those champions are no longer highly played.
And I also feel like the likes of, the facilitating junglers we saw, Volibear, Jarvan, blind picked all the time, all of a sudden, Poppy got mecha buffed as well. So I feel like these blind picks will never come through anymore. And if they do, I'm really hoping to see Punish with a Poppy pick that seems like a hidden OP to all this mobility we all of a sudden have in the game.
Oh, very excited to see him. I wonder if Ezreal's going to make his way back into the meta. I know Wolf and Valdes are very excited about that a little earlier backstage. Now, let's take a look at the games we've got in store for our opening day with the next installment in the North America versus European rivalry coming up in Game 4 with EG versus G2. I touched on it a moment ago. T1 will be kicking things off against Saigon Buffalo. And I think very important to call out the reigning MSI champions, RNG, will take to the stage in game number 5. So we have 6 matchups ahead. And as we are getting closer to the very first one, I thought it would be important to break down some of the teams competing at MSI and breaking them down group by group. So let's start with Group B. The reigning champions, RNG, they will be facing off against their semi-final opponent from last year's MSI and PSG Talon, as well as the Brazilian and Turkish representatives, the Istanbul Wildcats, and CB LOL's Red Kenneds. I mean, when I see this group, Goldborg, for me, it's RNG and PSG at the top. I am expecting Brazil and Turkey to kind of try to play spoiler, but that's where the power stacks in my head.
And I think most people would, as well as viewers as well, especially when you set the expectations that, oh, this was the semifinals of last MSI. Oh, I saw PSG Talent at Worlds too. Problem is, they got rid of River and Mabel. They're no longer there, and they've had to rebuild around some of the players that, Mabel and River was the main driving factors. So all of a sudden, we're having a look at a PSG Talent that's definitely not going to come in with the same oomph as we saw last year's MSI. And I actually think some of the other wildcard teams can actually come up here and threaten for that tier 2 spot.
That's going to be the test, right? So we got Istanbul Wildcats and Red Kenneds that are going to be trying to sneak into the Rumble stage. So the Rumble stage is what people would otherwise know as the group stage, and this group stage was previously known as the play-in, but it didn't have like a reigning MSI champion in it. So it's honestly such a Herculean task to ask the Red Kenneds to make it out of this group when they're literally in the group with last year's champions. And even though I think probably a little bit weaker in the side of PSG Talon, last year's semifinals. We can thank Dignitas for signing River. He was great in NA. So if you're saying Dignitas doesn't have a presence internationally, I show you PSG if they're worse without River.
Shots fired. Okay, I need to move us along because you just talk about the other group that's going to set Reddit on fire, Group C. North American European rivals, G2 taking on EG as well as the LCO's Order. I think this has to be the group of life. I think all 3 teams are happy about their opponents. I also think all 3 teams made the lower bracket run, finishing 4th in their leagues, and frankly, surprising that they are the representatives at MSI.
So many things are interesting about this group. All English-speaking broadcasts that you have, all, 9-9 EG, 11-7 G2 during the regular season, and it's absolutely the group of life because 2 teams still get out, even though there's only 3 teams in the group. So everyone is going to be happy about being against the other teams in the group.
And G2, of course, they won MSI in 2019, along with RNG and SKT, or T1 rather, the title winners. But let's talk about Evil Geniuses, their first time on the stage. EG, a little bit of a shocker, a new organization to the international front, and they've got a lot to prove.
Yeah, I think they're a new organization, but they're experienced players.
Oh, yeah.
So you can look at Impact kissing the NA trophy. That's his 5th NA title, and also Impact won the World Championship in 2013. The guy next to him, Vulcan, was at MSI on C9 last year, and then Inspired was the LEC MVP, like, what, 8 months ago? So, yes, they are a new org, and JoJo and Danny will be making their first MSI, but I don't think they're going to be completely inexperienced.
But that's the interesting thing about this EG roster. You named the veteran players, but I feel like it's more about the rookies as well, really coming into it, who can now finally leave their mark on the international stage. And, you know, finally, NA talent finally coming through. I think EG, not the one that you expected, but surely the one you hope for and the one you're cheering for now.
Now, let's briefly touch on the fact that Order are here representing the LCO. Last year, Pentanet surprised. During the course of rehearsals, I'm going to steal something that Jat said, and that, you know, NA has pillaged the LCO region. I know Gulborg added on as well that ERLs has taken a lot of players. I'm going to come, Gulborg, what do you make of Order and their chances to upset this group?
I think it's really difficult for them to come in and do the same Pentanet did. I think a lot of the Australian players went to the North American regions, they went to the European regional regions, right? Like Papu is playing in Big now in Prime League instead. So yeah, they came in with new players, and I think for Order, it's a really tough task for them to replicate what Pentanet did. And yes, they're in the group of life, but I still think that they will have the toughest challenge out of all the teams trying to get through as well.
I love the spirit of the LCO. Like, the OPL was dissolved 2 years ago, and people didn't expect them. They expected them to be the worst team at MSI last year. Yeah. So the fact that they were able to make that run, it doesn't mean they'll do it again, but all these guys are doing it for the love of the game. They're not doing it for big salaries. They're not doing it to make it big. Maybe they will end up getting picked up by an academy team or an ERL team, but really it is the love of the game that are charging these guys, which you don't see that much anymore.
Well, the love of the game be enough to upset EG and G2. That's what we're going to find out. We've only got 2.5 minutes before we get to our opening ceremony for day 1, and we're going to see Group A's opponents T1 and Saigon Buffaloes. As such, very briefly on the VCS, they step back onto the international stage. They are, of course, the 2nd seed from the region. They are also the youngest team of the entire tournament, and this is the next generation coming out of Vietnam.
Yeah, exactly, and I feel like it's been such a long time we've seen them, but to kind of just give you a little overview about what this team is so good at doing, well, they're very good at enabling that top side. They have weird draft as well, where they sometimes will pick a top laner, send that top laner in the support role instead, and then enable Hasmed up on that top lane. And once they finally get a lead from the early game, that's where they just, you know, they don't look back, and they just keep running forward, closing out the games.
Definitely, even though you don't have the #1 seed from the VCS, you have a team that is very much the spiritual successor of what the VCS brings
100%.
in terms of being high kills and deaths. I'm someone who loves trends, Trevor. And something I realized between most teams at MSI is they're either a team that prioritizes getting first Herald or a team that prioritizes getting first Drake. The only team that doesn't really prioritize either is the Saigon Buffalo. They do prioritize getting first blood, though. They were #1 in their region of just getting the first kill. So we're going to see a very flippy early game, I think, from them, because their shot of beating T1 is not through objective control, it's not through late game macro, it's just if they win enough early skirmishes, maybe they can be ahead enough to win team fights later.
Less than a minute, Gulborg. I want to come to you for some early game stats before we head over to opening ceremony. T1, they are undefeated in 2022. They haven't lost a series, they have lost a few games, and now they're going to stand down the face of Saigon Buffalo. I saw a question from Fion asking, if you lose a BO1, does it count as losing a series? Yes, it does. So let's talk about the early game impact and what Saigon Buffaloes have to do.
It's very interesting how they do it, right? Because from the Saigon Buffaloes, they have some of the highest kills at 14 minutes you can get. But you take a look at it, it's also some of the highest deaths. That this team is all or nothing, okay? The goal difference is not as good as T1, because T1, they're aggressive as well. They got a lot of kills, they die a lot too, but their laners are so freaking
Saigon Buffaloes win lane, get kills, that's how you beat T1.
And honestly, in a best-of-1 scenario where T1 some time will get cocky, they have lost some games in their first best-of-3s that they had, you might actually get a little bit of a turnaround where Saigon Buffaloes, if they win in the first 15 minutes of the game, they might actually be able to close out the game, but it's a very slim chance.
Yeah, if they're ahead in 15 minutes, then they have a slim chance of winning the game. T1 is the overwhelming favorite, 42-8 map score, 18-0 regular season, the prohibitive favorites coming into the tournament. Everyone wants to see what FLICKR will do.
That's it, I have to cut you off. The group stage of Busan starts right now.
웰컴 투 코리아! e스포츠의 본고장, 대한민국의 오신 여러분을 진심으로 환영합니다. 정말 오랜만에 한국에서의 국제대회를 맞이하게 됐는데요. 세계적인 레전드와 직접 마주할 수 있다는 기대감과 함께 베테랑 월드스타 그리고 국제대회를 처음 접하는 신인들까지 2022년 5월 드디어 MSI가 시작됩니다. 이번 2022 MSI의 라인업은 그 어느 때보다도 쟁쟁합니다. 챔피언 타이틀을 거머쥐었던 팀은 T1, RNG, G2 이렇게 세 팀입니다. 그중 한 팀은 작년 MSI 우승컵을 지켜내기 위해 싸울 것입니다. 이들뿐 아니라 각 지역을 제패한 팀들이 모든 것을 걸고 세상을 움직일 준비를 마쳤습니다. 과연 이 전장에서 누가 살아남을까요? 누가 최정상에 올라 자신의 이름을 영원히 남길 수 있을까요? 과연 누가 MSI의 챔피언의 자리에 오르게 될까요? 여러분께서 무엇을 상상하시든 그 이상을 보게 되실 겁니다. 자, 이제 LCK 홈그라운드인 이곳 서울을 떠나 오늘부터 3주간 대회가 펼쳐질 부산행 열차에 올라타실 시간입니다. 자, 여러분 준비하시고 쏘십시오. 단 한순간도 놓치지 마시기 바랍니다. Take note! 자, 그러면 지금부터 2022 리그 오브 레전드 미드시즌 인비테이션을 함께 하시는 많은 분들의 뜨거운 응원의 박수와 함께 시작하겠습니다.
전 세계에서 가장 롤을 많이 사랑하는 한국인 만큼 그래서 저희가 여기서 MSI를 치른다는 게 굉장히 큰 의미인 것 같습니다.
이번 정류장은 부산역입니다.
Last time we were here, we won it all.
저희는 어린 팀이지만 강해지고 강해져서 최강 팀이라는 게 뭔지 받아 적어야 될 겁니다.
Ngày sẽ tìm ra điểm yếu của bạn và 5 người chúng tôi sẽ hủy diệt bạn.
지난 월즈에서 왕이 돌아왔다라고 했는데 I never left.
来了，想我们了吗？
Hello and welcome. We are here for MSI 2022. It is me, Valdes, with Wolf, and we are going to be jumping straight into the pick ban. So happy to be here for MSI.
Same, and it's very exciting because we are going to get the first taste of this new meta. We've had so many new patches that have come through since the end of regional finals across the world. And to start things off right away, there's a pretty big shared champion pool between Keria and Taki, and two of those very common champions we see right now, Blind, the Leona and Nautilus, are taken off the board right away. Zeus's Jace also taken away right off the bat here. So a lot of research definitely going into this one here for Saigon Buffalo.
Yeah, and you know, we were talking about some of the shared champion pools. Also, Froggy playing a bunch of Ahri. FLICKR, obviously very well known for playing that in recent times as well. Also, take a look at the Caitlyn ban there for the bottom lane. So we're very curious about, you know, what the AD carry meta is going to be, but I think that Gumayusi still will command that respect on that champion.
And I think Jat said it best on the desk earlier, is if you have a strong expectation for what the meta will be, you're probably going to be wrong at this stage because we simply just do not have enough information, and I think the teams themselves haven't settled down yet what is going to be the top picks. But we're leaving Twisted Fate open against FLICKR in a team that's very famous for their early game macro and control of first Rift Herald into taking down towers early. Very powerful pick that works with so many different types of compositions, so it's no surprise to see FLICKR pick that one up very early here.
Yeah, and take a look at this. You know, some small buffs going over to Tristana, especially for her late game scaling. Looks like that will be the choice here. So Shogun gonna get his hands onto this Tristana very early on. And you were talking about, you know, banning away T1. It's rough, man. It's never easy. You got to choose one. They let that go. And take a look at this. Wukong just straight up coming out here.
Yeah, Wukong blind as well here very early on in this draft. In the LCK region, we almost never see this champion. It's been called for quite a bit. Nami picked up very early here, usually paired with the Lucian. Of course, Lucian's still open, so that could be a pick here to try to dominate the early laning phase, where Gumayusi and Keria, Gumayusi, if you want to put their names together, have had the most dominant 2v2s in the LCK out of any bottom duo. And that's, of course, with players like Ruler in our region, of course. And you give them control of that bottom lane early, they get an early lead, and things can be disastrous with the prio they're going to gain.
We are going to see Sylas coming out here. Pretty common response to the TF. Just want to make sure you have some globals yourself. You take away that Destiny Gate, and you're getting around the map yourself as well. Can put on some pressure in the lane. Not going to go for the Galio, another response that we do see, even the Rise as well. But again, you know, the meta's shifting. We're here on 12.8, and things will look different.
Yeah, I really like this recon ban as well for the Lucian Nami lane. Definitely things can go awry when you're trying to put that pressure on with recon in those 2v2s. And the Viego ban here is a very Oner-specific ban, especially considering that you have CC set up already in the mid lane with the Twisted Fate. So that's what we've seen Oner and FLICKR rely on, whether it's the Ahri pick into the Viego or the Twisted Fate into the Viego. Very strong combo. Then Oner's most favorite and most common pick of the LCK season, the Lee Sin, is also taken away.
Yeah, we do see the Rel as the final ban there on blue side, and now we're hovering the Zyra. Not sure about that. Maybe just going back to the olden times of League of Legends, just throw a classic Tristana Alistar into their face. Definitely something you can do. Alistar, not great early on, you know, at level 1 specifically. Might get poked out a little bit, but looking for those combos to potentially take away some power from the Lucian Nami.
The Gwen pick here, you know, despite some nerfs and changes, still going to be a very common one here from the LCK region. Gumayusi going to pick this one up, and it's great for those early skirmishes and brawls, so not surprised to see this at all. And Vi, my favorite arcane champion, you know. I know what everyone's spamming in the chat, but yeah, very exciting to see this one. We did see this actually played in our region. Not successfully, but it is not the first time we've seen this, and it is very strong with the kind of skirmishing that T1 is looking for to control this early game, snowball this lead that they're looking to grab in the first 14 minutes.
Yeah, and we are going to see Kennen. Yeah, the Kennen comes out here, and, you know, it's going to be pretty nice in that lane against the Gwen. Just has the range advantage, and they did go down to Gambit in the finals over there in the VCS, but this is one of the champions that he looked really good on.
So, yeah, Hasmed's Kennen is definitely, it's not his most played from playoffs, but it's his most iconic champion in my reviews of VODs from him. And he's very good at setting up team fights this way. As was mentioned earlier on the desk, both of these teams extremely bloody in their play style, love to be aggressive early. And I do think this game will very likely be decided in the first 15 minutes and possibly even decided by the first Rift Herald fight, especially when you consider how Feast or Famine T1's composition is going to be. Yes, they do have some insurances with Gwen in late game team fights, but if you get to a late game where you are not stomping with this composition, you are going to find yourself falling very far behind.
Yeah, it's a very T1-esque kind of composition. Maybe not something we've seen a lot, but definitely plays to their play style. They love to get in your face very confidently, take away the kill, and then take away the game very early on. If you guys, you're used to watching the LCK, you think, some of these teams are a little bit more laid back. I think T1, I'm not sure what got into them. They're just so confident and incredible in their mechanics to the point where it's like taking candy away from a baby at times.
It really is, and it's unfortunate that Saigon Buffalo has such a tall task in their first time returning as a region here for the VCS. It's been nearly 3 years, as was mentioned earlier, since the Vietnamese region has actually been able to play on the international stage, and they're playing against a 20-0 win streak T1 here. So very David and Goliath-esque here, the matchup we are watching. But as was mentioned, if Saigon Buffalo can get an early lead or at least stave off T1's early pressure, there's a lot of great potential team fighting later on. And it is crazy that we are seeing Wukong this early in the tournament. As, hey guys, we're actually here at the LEC studio. It's really awesome to be here.
Yeah, first time, I think, for both of us, right?
Yeah.
Here at the Berlin, the LEC studio, just awesome to be involved. And of course, we did fly here from Korea, but love to be part of the team that is over here at the LEC studio, and we will be covering the games from here. But yeah, I'm just really excited to get into this one. And as you mentioned, David and Goliath, it's pretty apparent to everybody watching this that T1 definitely one of the favorites for the tournament. But I'm excited to see what Saigon Buffalo can show us tonight.
All right, 2v2 here, set up in the bottom lane. You can see hiding in the brush. Respect being shown from Taki and Shogun that they could be in there. It's Alistar level 1, so definitely don't want to walk into this. Oh. Going for the splash.
Okay, he's going on in there. Immediate exhaust, but with the E leveled up here from Tristana. That's going to be one more auto, and Gumayusi goes down. Shogun and Taki take it to them. Keria with the ignite. He will flash in and take away the kill onto Shogun. So much action already in the bottom side, and Keria will be able to walk this one out.
It's so extremely important that Keria is actually able to take Shogun out here, because if he stays in the lane, gets a massive level lead here, is able to take that CS advantage, this 2v2 lane becomes so incredibly difficult to play. But such an incredible heads-up play here from Taki, going for the flash early, gets the knock up there, expecting T1 is in the brush, and T1 were just simply not ready for it. So you can see this here, sweepers out, and it's very clear to both these teams, there's a very high chance they're in there. Taki just goes straight up for the flash knock-up here. As soon as he sees them, gets the double knock-up, and you can't compete against this damage this early on with the Tristana.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. This is why this duo has been around in League of Legends forever. It's that you get the CC, and Tristana has an insane amount of burst early on. And,
made it a reflex game here, I mean, really.
Yeah, absolutely, as we're going to see some trading here in top and mid. Haven't taken too much of a look at these two lanes just yet, but as you can see, Froggy already putting on some pressure on the FLICKR here in the mid lane. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, guys like Froggy coming on over here, as we will have another combo here, but Taki getting a little bit chunked out.
Yeah, notice how differently things go when Taki's not getting a double knock-up, right, in a fight like this, with Lucian being able to kind of poke and do that consistent damage, with Nami, of course, being ranged as well. It's a little bit tougher to actually continue to put that pressure on here in this 2v2. Oner nearby as well. Need to be so careful. And I think there's a lot of underestimating that people are doing of the VCS region right now, because we haven't seen them in international tournaments. Their first opponent is T1. What we've already seen, though, small gold lead here with that first blood. Saigon Buffalo came to play early, and this is their playstyle. They are aggressive. They take extremely high risks early. And against T1, especially against T1's comp, I think you do have to play that way. Now, around the first Rift Herald, that's the kind of risky play we'll see if Saigon Buffalo commits to, because that's where T1's comp is going to start to really come online. And if they get that first Rift Herald, a gold lead is how T1 snowballs this game. So that might be where Saigon Buffalo might want to pump the brakes a little bit.
Okay, a little bit of action up in the top side. BeanJ looking for a bit of a dive here, but Gwen is immune immediately. BeanJ is taking all the turret shots and nearly gets taken out. Zeus is taken pretty low here and might have to back off the wave.
Yeah, he will get away here. Notice Oner coming up as well to protect if there was going to be a follow-up here. Flash, of course, having to be burned here for BeanJ with the failed dive, quote-unquote. It will, of course, force Zeus to back, but he has teleport. Meanwhile...
Oh, here we go. Guma a little bit too far up, but they're trying to trade it back, but the extra jump comes in for Shogun, and this is just going to be a double kill on the bottom side as the Saigon Buffalo duo are taking out T1.
3 kills early for Shogun. This is the Lucian Nami lane getting destroyed right now, and it's Gumayusi Keria that are getting destroyed in this 2v2. And once again, it's Taki on the heads-up play here, as we'll see how this one started off. We came in a little bit late on the fight.
Ooh.
Just going to be headbutt in. Shogun collapses in. Gumayusi's positioning here way too greedy. You see Keria tries to Aqua Prison to stave off the pressure, but it's just too much damage too fast for Tristana at these early levels. And this is going to get much worse before it gets better.
Yeah, and it's a couple of things, you know. He really wanted that cannon. It's the first game of the tournament. Gumayusi is on a low-range AD carry. He's like, oh man, I'd really love that cannon. But he got punished for it. As you mentioned, the Aqua Prison missing Tristana means that, yeah, he just gets taken out. So, you know, this is a duo that we have been touting in the LCK as obviously the best in the LCK, but also we've been talking about how great they are around the world as well, and now they're just getting shown up very early on in this first game.
Yeah, it's important to remember the context of what Lucian Nami is supposed to do in a 2v2 is to get kind of guaranteed prio and give you control over early objectives. It's a very strong duo because of Nami's passive, and Froggy has level 6. Not going to be useful in this matchup, of course, though, to duel. But going back to the point, the fact that Tristana is this far ahead, has 3 kills early, means that now Saigon Buffalo are going to feel very comfortable to actually try to commit to that Rift Herald fight. You know, bring their AD carry over, not going to be looking to trade plates. And T1's comp is going to struggle in the later parts if they can't get a tempo lead. And it's so difficult when your 2v2 on the bottom side has gone this far awry.
Yeah, so Oner is down here. He's not level 6, but neither is BeanJ, who is hanging around the area. This first Drake, being a Hextech Drake, can be pretty nice to pick up early. T1 not necessarily a team that like to collapse on the early Drakes and really make a move on it. They love to get the early Rift Heralds, as I'll have to hold that thought. We are engaging on the Oner here, but Taki and BeanJ will pump the brakes and just get out of here.
Yeah, so... Again, you know, we haven't seen the power of Shogun's gold just yet because he's still sitting, of course, on that Noon Quiver. And, you know, this is going to really explode and balloon very soon, but we haven't quite gotten there just yet. So Gumayusi and Keria, you can see they are essentially functionally doing what this Lucian Nami lane is supposed to do despite the 3 kills here for Shogun at the moment. But as that Rift Herald does start to spawn, it's going to be a very strong moment for Saigon Buffalo because Tristana does have this extra gold. They do have a Kennen who has Flash and ult available. We haven't really visited the top side of the map that much this game, but the fact that they can look for that scrappy team fight with the Sylas here as well, which is such a common response to Twisted Fate, is meaning that Saigon Buffalo could take an early lead.
Here we go. This is the Destiny Gate stolen, and Guma is up the river, and he actually does have a pretty nice gap, so... a great instinctual response, I would say, here from Guma to go the correct way and escape any death.
Yeah, it was not going to stick around to try to clear that control ward. It's going to leave here right away. But the Skivs, of course, again, showing a lot of control here of the bottom side. Not quite able to take this plate out just yet. But Rift Herald is spawning. Shogun, he's going to have the fast track over there. Remember, this is a Kennen that has Slicing Maelstrom, one of the strongest ultimates in the game on Rift Herald fights. But the pressure in this lane means he can't really get there.
Take note that FLICKR has Ignite from the Unsealed Spellbook, also has the ultimate advantage right now, as it's going to be big for T1 to try to get the advantage around this top side. And you see that BeanJ and Hasmed, they will be called off. They're not going to try to collapse onto Zeus or anything like that. So FLICKR just, his presence is felt for sure.
Yeah, and this is so unusual for T1 to actually not be grouping for a Rift Herald this early as well. Like, T1 is the team that would fight for Rift Herald no matter what in our region for so long, regardless of circumstances, and see it ignored this early. So unusual. Look at this time.
The bubble comes in, and Shogun This time he goes down as Froggy now gets pretty low. Looks like there wasn't enough vision around the mid lane, as we will have him going down here, and you can hear the fans, they're allowed to cheer out now. It is awesome to hear that they are ready to go and cheer for T1 here at MSI.
Yeah. Okay, Taki once again for the engage.
Okay, going on in here, but you can see that Shogun not really confident to get on in this one, and he will just get burst down. It gets a little bit too close to the sun and trying to force it there with Saigon Buffalo. Here comes BeanJ with the flash coming in. The immediate exhaust and the damage that comes out of Lucian. Nami might be enough, but not quite, as BeanJ will be able to take him out at the end and at least trade one back.
You could tell there was a little bit of miscommunication there for Saigon Buffaloes. Of course, the Rift Herald is taken topside while this is happening with that engage there from Taki, because Shogun doesn't go in. BeanJ is nearby with blue buff half taken. So he's in the vicinity. It looks like the idea is to look for that gank a little bit earlier, to look for that 2v2 kill there. But actually, unfortunately, with a really nice reaction there from Keria and the exhaust from Guma, they can't make anything happen here on the play. He does, of course, rotate down, but at the cost of this early Rift Herald that T1 have now picked up. They've actually taken a gold lead, and a lot of the wind is now out of the sails here for Saigon Buffalo.
Yeah, we'll take another look here at this mid play. Looks like Froggy, you know, he's been aggressive the entire time, and this time Oner is here to punish him.
Yeah. Really easy kill here. This is the play I'm talking about. Notice BeanJ is on blue buff right now. So Taki decides to go in here. Shogun is a little bit timid on it. There's a wave crashing in. And see the zoom out here. BeanJ is nowhere really near the vicinity. And it's a really nice turn here from Keria. Really easy clip. Now he does come down, of course, and pick up the kills. Once again, gonna go in.
Oh, and here's Oner once again. Taki, no unbreakable will this time around, and he will take his first death of the contest.
Yeah, and look, Taki, I think, starting to feel the nerves a little bit here. Had success early, you know, has himself 4 assists in the first 10 minutes of the game, and is trying to play around this Kraken Slayer, but, you know, plays like this, really costly timing, because now the Rift Herald is going to take this entire turret. It's going to be full set of plates here for T1's bot duo.
Yeah. And this is typical T1. You know, they will go even with you. They might take an early lead, but they will get the Rift Heralds either for free or for not, and then they will just take your turret by, you know, 11, 12 minutes. Get all the plates, Gumayusi gets super fed, and they love to close out games from there. At least Saigon Buffalo, with all the pressure on the bottom side of the map, they will be able to take this Hex Tech Drake, but just a bit of a consolation prize at this point. You'll note that this is the first Drake of the contest, so we're not really getting too close to the soul or anything like that for Saigon Buffalo.
You'll notice also a plate is taken here in the mid lane as well. Faker's able to pick that one up because they needed all that extra pressure, that prio that was brought towards this Drake while losing a turret. So they're able to stop the turret from going down, that last plate from going down. They get a Drake, and they still lose a plate in the mid lane. T1 is going to find gold everywhere on the map when they have an edge like this and that Rift Herald power. This is, as you said, what they're so famous for in the LCK. The late game team fighting is great too, but they usually go to that late game with a massive gold lead.
Yeah, and you can see, you know, we haven't seen too much of the early top side of the map either, just because there has been so much action on the bottom side, as that's not really going to hit Taki, but a very scary wave will push him away, and it does mean that T1 will take all of this vision. But yeah, I mean, after that early dive on the top side, didn't really get the kill onto Zeus. He has been just holding strong, going even, taking some plates himself.
Yeah. If that tidal wave hits, it's you know, definitely a kill there. So I respect the attempt here from the Nami, in this case Keria, looking for it. As T1 is going to clear up a lot of the vision that was set up here. Saigon Buffalo really committing. I think 3 control wards were dropped here in the river, and they are clearing it all up now. T1 have full vision control so that Gumayusi can continue to push aggressively to try to grab that last plate in the last minute and a half.
Okay, Froggy space checking a little bit here, did not have vision, and now he is just trying to tank it up, but unfortunately Destiny Gate comes in, big 2-on-2 on the bottom side again, and this time Shogun and Taki will get their revenge. Another double kill into this Tristana. At least they're getting some wins down there now.
Yeah. And it's, you know, starting to really become a ballooning problem that T1 are going to have to deal with. This Tristana, who's, you know, on this patch and has subsequently been buffed and is going to be stronger in late game scaling situations against a Lucian that, you know, is very low range. It is going to be very difficult to team fight with later on. We're going to pick up some extra gold here. Complete control now. This pendulum swings back to Saigon Buffalo in the bottom lane. At the cost of mid plates, of course, here.
This might be a race for first turret blood, as we do see Oner and FLICKR really trying to take this one down. But I think that Taki, or rather Shogun and BeanJ, should get the win, and they will. The first turret blood will go the way of Saigon Buffalo as a stolen Vi ultimate, as in goes Froggy extremely aggressively just to try to save this turret. And he will, as here comes Hasmed. He's got the angle onto FLICKR, as FLICKR will get comboed, and he's trying to get CC'd 100-0, and now with 4 members of the Buffaloes, he will be taken down.
I cannot overstate, I think, the lack of respect that T1 has shown, actually, in this game in several moments where they're looking to trade objectives. They lose the race, of course, because it's a Twisted Fate hitting a turret, right, versus Tristana on the bottom side. You're not going to win that race. You're overextended where you don't have control of top side. If Hasmed is just a little bit faster, flash slicing Maelstroms, that could be 3 kills picked up there for Saigon Buffalo. And T1 just a little bit too aggressive here, are pushed off, unable to get that bottom turret, unable to get that mid turret. And we're looking at a world, and I know T1 still have a gold lead, fans at home, but it's 400 gold. And it's T1 against the VCS's second team, right? Not even their number 1 team. A much closer game than we expected.
Okay, we're going to have culling against culling, but Kingslayer's not going to help him survive as Froggy, once again, it seems like just a little bit out of position, and that will be his 3rd death here. T1 definitely taking advantage of that mid lane a bit here.
Yeah, Gale Force here versus no Mythic available for Froggy as well. You can see the item differences here really coming into play. That extra execute damage for Guma is going to allow him to get this kill. And this is a scrappy game. This is what we expected to see from these 2 teams. It's just action non-stop. Yes, Froggy is 10 to the level 8 here, but Guma gets the jump on him, does his combo here, gets the passive to proc maximum amount of times, has the Gale Force damage coming through, just knows his champion, knows his opponent's limits very well here, and pulls off the kill.
Yeah, pretty nice stuff. I think we are going to slow this one down a little bit before we do get into this Cloud Drake that is coming up just next in a minute. As you see that both the bottom lanes have now moved into the mid lane. Perhaps Guma and Keria will feel a bit safer to not get comboed as they have been multiple times on the bottom side. Taki is positioning very aggressively, goes into the Unbreakable Will and just gets blown up just like that. Not able to survive on the Alistar.
And I think a big part of this play is the fact that the top side is controlled so heavily. Hasmed doesn't have a place to teleport to. He's not free enough to actually try to make something happen. BeanJ was on the flank, as you guys were showing, or observers were showing rather, that he could have come in there to try to set up a play there with Taki, but he was just a little bit too far away, and he's trying to control an objective that hasn't yet spawned. Meanwhile, Oner gets Rift Herald. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's a big win for T1.
Zeus has been stalked through the jungle, and now he's got to go 1v2 in his Shroud, as now the Gwen ultimate is stolen. The damage not quite there. Zeus will survive as Keria gets there just barely on time, and BeanJ is going to get ignited down by Keria, who will pick up the kill, and now Oner is looking for a little bit more.
Meanwhile, topside FLICKR survives there. Hasmed even commits the flash, is unable to kill him.
And Shogun is just dead here, does not have another jump. That is going to be a killing spree now for Oner, who casually picks up the Vi and is now 3-0 in the first game of MSI.
What do you think about the Nami impact in professional play in recent times? Of course, we've seen Nami years ago in many different other matchups, but in professional play, it's usually just for controlling the 2v2 in the laning phase, but how Keria has been able to use his ultimate as a peeling tool in so many of these scenarios on the bottom side has been fantastic and has really punished some overextensions from Saigon Buffalo. This means second Drake is picked up here for T1. Rift Herald still in Oner's hands, and T1's experience here and I think patience is paying off.
Not again, Taki. Okay, he is going to get out alive here with this one, as Culling will be stolen by Froggy, but yeah, Guma has a Nami behind him, so he will be totally fine. As, yeah, you know, you were talking a little bit about nerves. I think that the positioning may be a little bit more to be wanted for Taki, I would say. He's maybe not respecting the Destiny Gate, and T1, they're a ferocious team, right?
Yeah,
if you're out of position, they will take you down.
This is the expectation for if T1 got ahead earlier on in this game with the comp that should have been ahead, where they would be. You know, pushing this far into the jungle as tidal wave's gonna come out.
Yeah, not gonna hit him, as we do have second Rift Herald coming in, but this is a huge teleport flank coming in now from Hasmed, but he's all alone. He is gonna be forced into this one early on. The slicing Maelstrom only hits Oner, as okay, Oner is actually gonna go down. FLICKR tries to get the kill onto Kennen, but it's not gonna quite work out. But Zeus is now frontlining, and he's got a bunch of needles. He's just trying to chip through that front line here. So many low health bars on the side of Saigon Buffalo, but nobody has gone down yet, as they do not have vision of this brush rather, as Hasmed will give up his life. Everybody else is on the run, as Froggy is just gonna get executed, and T1 will take the fight eventually. As, yeah, it's just gonna be the bubble coming in. Keria will pick up the kill, a very bloodthirsty support in his own right.
He's got his Imperial mandate going on. He's very happy to pick up extra kills here, and This is a nice attempt here from Hasmed to try to look for the teleport flank, but notice the items here for the Kennen at this point. You know, it's not like he's sitting on a Void Staff here. He did, of course, go for the Rocket Belt, so not like it's Night Harvester Kennen, which we have seen a few times. If he has a little bit more itemization, that flank actually might end up doing enough damage to win that fight for Saigon Buffalo. But even after the initial pick, the health bars are so low, the Tristana is so extremely low, you just can't front to back that, even with the range advantage and the concave they had outside of the choke. So look at Hasmed here on the flank. He doesn't quite have enough damage to actually out-duel here, and he's just immediately Aqua Prisoned by Keria. He can't close the gap to hit the rest of T1. Notice Gumayusi is still at full health here at the end of this fight. If he's able to close the gap, if he's not Aqua Prisoned, if he has more items, this teleport flank works out in a lot of different scenarios, but not in this one. And now at this point, your health bars are so low, you can't win this despite having control of the exit for the choke.
It's very important that T1 identify the teleport flank was coming in and they position perfectly for it, right? You send your jungler in first, you deny the Kennen the entry, and everybody else just spreads out and runs away, and you will be totally safe. As that's a pretty funny kill at the end there for Keria. As now we do have a nice little lead here for T1, about 4,000 gold as we hit the 20-minute mark. The Baron has spawned. And here we go. We do have some poking coming out here, trying to force that Unbreakable Will. It will actually be forced. Skuma will get that out of Taki.
Yeah, a group up here in the jungle on the top side. A lot of vision placed here for T1. They're going to look for a basically spawning Baron at 2015. And Saigon Buffalo suss this out. They're going to rotate over. Vi ultimate available here for Froggy. T1 might have bitten off more than they can chew here. They're going to try to turn.
They're looking for the turn, and Taki is just blown up immediately. He does use that lock-in, but that's about all he's got here. As T1, they knew this was coming. They knew they were spotted, and they knew that they would eventually take down the Baron, if not yet right away.
And notice the one champion who's left standing here, the one who could have actually looked for a team fight against T1. T1 knew Hasmed had ultimate, but wasn't nearby. You have a Slicing Maelstrom in this team fight, it could look completely different, but T1 very aware of where he is on the map. The tidal wave turn again from Keria is fantastic. And T1 used this Baron to force a team fight Saigon Buffalo didn't want to take.
Not sure what's going on here. FLICKR with red buff just says, I've got exhaust as well because I have unsealed spellbook, and yeah, I think I'll just take the kill. Thank you very much.
And this is now Hasmed with no Slicing Maelstrom for the upcoming Drake. If Saigon Buffalo were going to look to contest that one, they don't have control over it, but that's just another tool now missing. Hasmed was trying to win that 1v1, which I think was a bit optimistic here. Notice the tidal wave from Keria. They force Saigon Buffalo into this choke point. Notice Keria's positioning on the right side here, as we're already in another fight.
Okay, well, Saigon, they try to get something going here. They have a teleport coming in, and Oner will respect it. He will actually flash away. Immediately goes back in as they notice the sad Wukong all alone. And this is just the dominoes falling one by one. Taki eventually going to be dead meat as well, as he will go down 3 more kills for T1 as they push with the Baron buff.
The Red Bull Baron power play is going to be pretty stacked for this one, Valdes. We're already at 4,400 gold. With all the kills they take in that fight, plus the turrets that are standing gold T1 are going to pick up on the map, this is probably a push to end here with the momentum they have. Hasmed still no Slicing Maelstrom, a tool they so desperately need to stave off this push.
And it's only the 2 of them. I mean, so much for all those kills into the Tristana. Shogun really, he's in a little bit of a trough. His team has been picked off so many times that he has not really had a front-to-back team fight for him to do any amount of carrying in this one, unfortunately. As T1, they're not going to quite end the game. They probably could have tried to force it, but, you know, first game, it's a best of 1. They just want to get the easy win. They do have the Infernal Drake here.
And Saigon Buffalo also kited back really well, respected them there, didn't actually overextend. If they get a kill there, they 100% push to win with the damage they have. The inhibitor is down, as mentioned. Drake is up. T1 can kite back and take that too. They have full vision of it. So they're just kind of, they have control of every single piece of this map right now. As Taki's once again going to get caught by a tidal wave.
Yeah, and the slow on it is incredible, right? He does have everything, but he's not going to use anything because he knows he's just dead. As that will be a very scared Sylas running to the safety of his BeanJ,
What's left of this? What's left of this turret? Shogun.
Yeah, he's just gonna go in. You know, let's see what he can do. Maybe a little bit of damage, but that's about it. Actually, got him below 50% health. Nice little try, but just a bit out of position. And this game has gone off the rails, and I think T1 is looking to try to close it out here in just a moment.
And now we're starting to see this game go according to expectations. The early game certainly didn't look that way. Saigon Buffalo came out very flashy, great plays from Taki in the 2v2, very surprising start. But T1's experience, their macro, it all shows up here, their map awareness and vision control.
Yeah, they're just going to push in for this one. We do have the stolen by ultimate. They desperately want to take out Gumayusi, and they will do that, but everybody else survives with a very low amount of health. And actually, they do get the kill there onto Zeus. As FLICKR, he's like, come on, guys, let's get this one done. You know, like I wanna get some lunch before the rest of the day goes on. But
they actually will have to let this go. The top turret will fall here, but they won't be able to, of course, grab an inhibitor. FLICKR is looking for a turn if Hasmed decides to come in here. Did, of course, already use a Slicing Maelstrom. Turret will actually just barely survive. But look who's on the case of the Drake. This Infernal Drake has been up for so long. T1 have just been more interested in killing the Nexus. And now they're like, all right, well, I guess on our second attempt to do so, didn't go. We'll go ahead and grab this Infernal Drake solo. There's no vision on the map really here for Saigon Buffalo whatsoever. There's that one control ward just top of the mid lane. And we really have to track those wards or any deep wards that Saigon Buffalo could put down, because a flanking Kennen is, I think, the only way that Saigon Buffalo could even hope to win one of many team fights they will need to win to come back in this game. I know I have a famous phrase I say in the LCK when games are finished, so to say, but I'm not going to say it here just yet. I suppose anything is possible, but we are looking at an 11,000 gold lead, supreme map control, so much vision. The only thing left to do is to walk down the red carpet here for T1.
Speaking of which, FLICKR's going down to zone one. He does have vision here. BeanJ nearly takes him out himself. Nice little combo. You see he has picked up the Magi Soul Stealer. Did have a bunch of stacks on his Dark Seal from earlier on in the game. And so, you know, just looking to stack that one up. And is having a very fun time of that. T1 without the Baron. They do have the range advantage and a pretty nice siege, but here comes the flank once again. They're trying to get onto Gumayusi, and he's going to go down. Okay, they do get the kill.
Zeus is going to kill a Nexus, so they don't care.
That's going to be the end of that turret and that Nexus as well. Zeus is going to do it all alone. Oner comes in for the picture finish, and that will be game number 1 of MSI 2022 going into the hands of T1 very smoothly.
Very smoothly towards the mid to late game. The early game, there were certainly some question marks. The dominance we expect to see from T1 in the 2v2. Gumayusi Keria, arguably best bottom duo in the world right now, did fall a little bit far behind there, but they were still able to control that 2v2 lane despite the 3 kills on the Tristana and every objective fight with their way. Team fighting was better, vision control. And Taki, great start, but some of those catches on the Alistar really hurt the mid-game that Saigon Buffalo could have tried to snowball.
Yeah, it's very true. I think that Saigon Buffalo definitely a nice first showing here at MSI. I think that's, this is T1, right? You give them an inch, they're going to take a mile, and they did do a bit of that where, you know, I think the second that I saw Oner take the Rift Herald, even though it was kind of even down on the bottom side, I was like, ooh. I know what comes next. We've seen this movie many times before, Wolf, and yeah, pretty clean from the side of T1. Maybe a little bit of having fun there in the mid lane and the bottom side. FLICKR gives us a nice little thumbs up.
And I think I wouldn't read too much into the Wukong failing to find value in this game. I think it certainly can be a very strong champion. I think we will see it a lot this tournament. So don't set expectations on the Wukong based on this loss here. I think it is something we will see in the hands of a lot more stronger jungle players and a lot more even games going forward. So definitely keep your eyes out for that one.
Yeah, he goes over walls, and he is very impressive, especially from the jungle. So we'll definitely be seeing more of that for sure. Pretty fast first game. Wolf, anything else you wanna say before we go to break?
No, I think T1 said enough.
Yeah, I think they got it through to you guys for sure. But for this year's MSI, we asked the teams to pick 4 tracks that they think could be their team anthem and ask you guys, the fans, to vote on the winner. And here's the team anthem you selected for LJL Powerhouse Detonation Focus Me, arranged by Lisa. Listen to all the team anthems on the official LOL playlist on Spotify, and make sure to join us after the break for DFM versus Team A's.
I woke up to the morning sky first. Baby blue, just like we rehearsed.
Behind 14 epic days of epicness Behind 61 million hours of dropped jaws. Behind every match, every broadcast, every zero-ping moment at League of Legends MSI 2022 is the network capable of making it all happen. The Cisco Network, aka The Realm. Cisco